After 70, you start to notice something that younger people rarely think about. You are no longer interested in being impressive, popular, or constantly understood. What you want more than anything is peace. Quiet mornings. Simple days. Fewer emotional disturbances. And one of the biggest reasons people lose that peace in old age is because too many people know too much about them. When your private life becomes public, even inside your own family, stress slowly replaces calm. That is why wise older people begin to pull certain things back. Not in anger, not in bitterness, but in clarity. They realize that some parts of life are safer when they belong only to you. That is why smart people after 70 slowly stop sharing certain things, even with their own family. Not because they are cold or secretive, but because they have learned what it costs to be too open. When you were younger, sharing felt natural. You talked about money, problems, fears, and plans without thinking twice. But later in life, you begin to see how easily those things can be used, misunderstood, or turned into pressure. So wise older people start choosing their privacy carefully. There are 6 things in particular that they protect, and the first 3 are the ones that guard their independence, their dignity, and their emotional safety. The first thing is their financial situation. This includes how much money they have, how much they don't have, what they own, what they plan to leave behind, and what they spend. Once people know these details, something changes. Even people who love you start looking at you differently. They may not mean to, but they do. A son might start worrying about your spending. A daughter might start asking careful questions. A relative might suddenly become more attentive than before. It all seems small on the surface, but underneath, the relationship has shifted. You are no longer just a person. You are also a number. Money in later life is not just about comfort. It is about control. It is about being able to choose where you live, what kind of care you get, what you do with your days, and how you handle the end of your life. When too many people know your financial details, that control begins to leak away. Suddenly you feel like every decision has an audience. You might feel guilty for spending, even if it is your own money. You might feel pressure to save, even when you want to enjoy what you have left. You might even feel judged for living the way you choose. Wise older people avoid this by keeping the numbers private. They let professionals handle what needs to be handled. They make their plans quietly. They do not turn their family into financial supervisors. This keeps relationships cleaner and warmer. Love is not mixed with expectations. Conversations are not filled with hidden calculations. People can focus on being family instead of being future heirs. This is not selfish. It is respectful to yourself and to others. The second thing smart people stop sharing is their health fears. This does not mean they ignore medical advice or hide serious conditions from those who need to know. It means they do not turn their worries into public conversation. They do not announce every ache, every test, or every late-night fear about what might happen next. Once people hear that you are afraid, they begin to see you as fragile. Their tone changes. Their behavior changes. They start protecting you instead of treating you as capable. At first, it might feel nice to have people checking in. But over time, it becomes heavy. You start feeling watched. You start feeling like everything you do is being evaluated. Should you still be driving? Should you still be traveling? Should you still be living alone? These questions begin to appear, not because you asked for them, but because someone decided you might not be able to handle things anymore. And once that idea takes hold, it is very hard to reverse. Wise older people understand that dignity is fragile. Once you lose it, you rarely get it back. So they protect it by being careful with their health fears. They share what is necessary with doctors and perhaps one trusted person, but they do not let worry become their public identity. They do not allow themselves to be reduced to a diagnosis or a list of symptoms. They remain themselves, not a medical case. There is also something else that happens when you share too much about your health. People begin to worry, and that worry comes back to you as stress. They ask questions. They give advice. They imagine worst-case scenarios. All of that emotional noise enters your life. And stress, more than almost anything else, takes away the joy of the years you still have. Silence, in this case, is not denial. It is protection. The third thing people stop sharing is how they truly feel about their family. This is one of the hardest lessons to learn, because family is where our deepest emotions live. There is love there, but also old hurts, disappointments, and things that were never fully resolved. When you are younger, you may feel the need to talk about it, to clear the air, to be understood. But after 70, you begin to see that some conversations do not bring peace. They only reopen wounds. Words cannot be taken back. A moment of honesty can turn into a story that lasts for years. Something you say in frustration can quietly change how someone sees you forever. Even if they forgive you, the memory remains. And in families, those memories are often shared, repeated, and quietly woven into how people see you. Wise older people learn this the hard way. They realize that not every feeling needs to be spoken, especially when it can hurt the people they still care about or damage relationships that are already fragile. This does not mean pretending everything is fine. It means choosing where to place your emotional truth. You might write it down. You might think it through. You might talk to a neutral professional. But you do not hand it to the people who are part of the story, because they cannot hear it without being affected by it. Silence, in this case, is not weakness. It is maturity. When you stop sharing your money, your health fears, and your deepest family emotions, something changes inside you. You feel lighter. You feel less watched. You feel more in control of your own life. You no longer carry other people's reactions on your back. And that creates a kind of calm that is very rare in later life. This is not about cutting people off. It is about choosing what belongs to you and keeping it that way. And this is only the beginning, because there are still 3 more things that wise older people learn to keep private, things that protect their peace even more deeply as the years go by. Next, the 4th thing smart people stop sharing is their loneliness. This might sound strange because loneliness feels like something that should be talked about. But in later life, telling people you are lonely often creates the opposite of what you want. It makes others uncomfortable. It makes them feel guilty. And sometimes, it makes them feel sorry for you. Pity, even when it comes from love, slowly changes how people see you. They stop seeing your strength and start seeing you as someone who needs fixing. When people think you are lonely, they begin to hover. They call out of obligation instead of genuine connection. They visit because they feel they should, not because they want to. The energy changes. You can feel it. You become someone they worry about, not someone they relax with. And that kind of attention does not feel good. It feels heavy. Wise older people learn to enjoy their own company without turning it into a problem. They may miss certain people. They may wish for more connection. But they do not turn that into a public identity. They seek out moments of warmth and conversation in natural ways. A coffee with a neighbor, a phone call with a friend, a short walk in the park. They do not announce their emotional state and wait for others to fill it. They allow life to meet them gently. There is also a quiet power in being comfortable with yourself. When you are not begging for company, people feel more at ease around you. They come closer because they want to, not because they feel pressured. That creates real connection instead of awkward obligation. And in later life, real connection is far more valuable than constant company. The 5th thing smart people stop sharing is their plans. This includes plans to travel, to move, to sell something, to change their lifestyle, or to make any kind of big decision. When you tell people your plans too early, you invite their fears into your mind. Everyone has an opinion. Everyone has a worry. Everyone thinks they know what is best for you. And before you know it, your clear idea becomes cloudy. You might tell someone you are thinking about taking a trip, and they will warn you about safety. You might say you want to move, and they will worry about your health. You might mention selling something, and they will question whether it is wise. None of this is meant to stop you, but that is exactly what it does. It fills your head with doubt. Wise older people decide quietly. They think things through. They make their choices. And when everything is ready, they inform others. This keeps their mind clean and their confidence strong. They do not allow other people's anxieties to become their own. They understand that too many opinions can paralyze a decision. There is also something deeply satisfying about moving in silence. When you do not explain every step, you stay connected to your own reasons. You are not constantly defending yourself. You are simply living. That sense of quiet independence is one of the great joys of later life, if you let yourself have it. The sixth and final thing wise older people stop sharing is their regrets. This one may be the most important of all. Regret is deeply personal. It is tied to your memories, your mistakes, and the paths you did not take. When you share your regrets, you give others the power to rewrite your story. They may judge your choices. They may tell you what you should have done. They may reduce your life to a few moments of failure. Once that happens, it is very hard to feel whole. You begin to see yourself through their eyes. You begin to feel smaller than you really are. Wise older people do not let that happen. They remember privately. They forgive themselves quietly. They honor their past without putting it on display. This does not mean pretending you lived a perfect life. It means understanding that your story belongs to you. Your struggles, your mistakes, your lessons, and your growth are part of what made you who you are. You do not need anyone else's opinion about them. You have already lived them. That is enough. When you stop sharing your regrets, something beautiful happens. You stop being trapped by them. You let them soften. You let them fade into wisdom instead of pain. And that gives you a deep sense of peace that no one else can give you. All six of these things work together. Your money, your fears, your family feelings, your loneliness, your plans, and your regrets. When you keep them private, your life becomes simpler. You feel less exposed. You feel more grounded. You are no longer constantly reacting to other people's thoughts and emotions. You are living inside your own. This is one of the greatest gifts of aging, if you allow yourself to accept it. You no longer owe explanations. You no longer need to justify your choices. You no longer have to give everyone a window into your soul. You get to choose who sees what. Privacy in old age is not about hiding. It is about protecting what matters. It is about understanding that your inner world is precious. You have spent a lifetime building it. You do not need to give it away. As the years grow shorter, peace becomes more important than approval. Quiet becomes more valuable than conversation. And self-respect becomes stronger than the need to be understood. When you stop sharing what should be yours alone, you make room for something far better. You make room for calm. You make room for clarity. And you make room for the kind of quiet happiness that only comes when you finally belong fully to yourself.